Was I really about to paint my whole face without shaving this scruff? I really just started this video and didn't even shave. I have foundation on my face. Hold up. You can know people and they're like, you can know what the is happening to me. Oh hi, and welcome to my house and another episode of MurdersADrag. This is episode 19. Because next week is 20 honey 20, sweet like honey. I'm gonna start sharing my sources at the beginnings of the videos. I'm also gonna stop trying to be so emotional and expressive with my eyebrows because they just like to fly all over the place when I'm talking, and they don't look good unless I stay still. As you can see this week, I have a new backdrop, courtesy of my brother for my birthday, which is next month, but he can't help himself and gives gifts as soon as he buys them. Appreciate it though, look great. Yeah, so sources this week are HRC article by HRC staff, a News One article by News One staff, Detroit News article by Orlander Brand Williams, and a Rolling Stone article by Lily Danziger. So in October of last year, I covered the mass murder of transgendered women of color in America, specifically black transgendered women. And since that episode last year, that number has risen drastically and continues to rise as these women are murdered at a disproportionate rate. When I recorded that particular episode, I wanted to encompass like the full scope of the mass murder that's happening in our country and around the world right now. So it wasn't as personal as I might have liked it to be, but I did think that the episode accomplished what I wanted it to accomplish, if that makes sense. However, obviously I'm going to go into more depth about individuals who have been murdered and their individual life and their individual story. I obviously have this white privilege that can pull a nice, comfortable sheet of ignorance over my eyes to these types of mass murders and these types of situations. So I try my hardest to not whitewash this show or podcast based on my own personal biases and privileges. So I hope that I am doing that. And if I'm ever not doing that, then I definitely want to be told so I can adjust and correct. That is my attitude towards most anything in life. Adjust and correct. Essentially, I'm actively researching lesser known and lesser reported on cases of queer true crime within our community because I want to learn about it personally. I think that we should all learn about it, and we should give these individuals a platform where they can be remembered, respected, and lifted up. This week, I've been researching the tragic murder of Kelly Kiana Mattel Stowe. Kelly was a member of the legendary iconic House of Ebony, which is a well-known ballroom house in the ballroom scene. They win a lot. Throughout my research, I actually watched a few videos of Kiana performing around Detroit and competing, and she just had this smile that you can tell she had really found something that she was passionate about. You know, she had really found another passion to fully embrace with her whole being, you know? A person that really performed and competed with their whole entire self. Her stage name was Kiana, but her regular everyday pedestrian name was Kelly Stowe. So I will be referring to her as Kelly throughout the rest of this video, because I'm talking about Kelly. I'm talking about Kelly and Kiana, but you guys know what I mean. If you're here, you probably know how it works with a drag queen's name. Kelly was born November 2nd, 1982 in Michigan. She attended the Raphael Tabernacle Church of Detroit, where she was pretty active there. She sang in the band. She also taught herself the tambourine and, quote, electrified the church when she played. So she played that mother tambourine like there was no tomorrow. Aggressively blending my highlight. Kelly went to David Mackenzie High School, where she did a fantastic job. Her grades were great the entire time. She was also a fantastic athlete in high school. She did very well in multiple sports in high school and actually won herself a full scholarship to Dakota Wesleyan University in South Dakota. I do not know if I said that right. I probably didn't. Kelly was also a member of the competitive and prestigious competition-winning choir at David Mackenzie High School, so Kelly was a very talented woman for her entire life. Kelly's love for performing landed her in Detroit's ballroom scene very quickly thereafter. Being a trans woman who loves to perform, and being as talented as Kelly is, that was I saw that coming. I definitely saw that coming. And that very noticeable talent is also what landed her in the legendary iconic House of Ebony, which is not easy to get into. You can know people in the legendary iconic House of Ebony, but being in it is a whole nother ballgame. You need to be talented, mama. They want to win. So You gotta be able to win, and it's competitive. As a black trans woman, Kelly struggled, much like every trans person of color will, with a very complex set of issues, from violence to a lack of health care, a lack of medical resources in general, to a lack of safe housing, to a lack of safe job environment. Just all of these issues, along with being a black woman, it just makes the set of cards that they've been dealt much harder to play with. However, despite all of that adversity that she faced every day and night, she never lost that smile or that motivation and will to be the best Kelly that she could be. She also maintained that sense of stability through the legendary iconic House of Ebony and her family there, because being in drag and being in a drag family, like I've stated a lot in this show, it's truly a different experience from your traditional family, but it's, I would almost argue, closer, because you're willing to share more in every sense. And as many queer folks do, Kelly found her way into sex work as a way to make ends meet for her and to help her survive. And Kelly was close with a lot of the other girls who worked out there, a lot of the other trans girls who worked out there, because that community is really close-knit. They have to look out for each other. Nobody else is going to look out for them. Nobody else is going to keep track of them, you know? That's not exactly true in all cases, because Kelly had a really supportive family, but when she was out there, nobody really knew where she was besides her sisters out on the street. In the early hours of December 7th, 2018, Kelly was in the Palmer Park area. She got into a car with a man that she had seen multiple times and that she knew. CCTV footage from a nearby gas station shows them arguing inside of his vehicle, but things aren't physical at any point until Kelly is thrown from the vehicle and the car speeds away. At 6 a.m., in response to a call from a witness who says he saw a person being thrown from a car, an officer arrives on scene and finds Kelly there. She finds her not breathing, she's unresponsive and cold to the touch, and when she inspects further, she finds that Kelly's been shot once fatally in the underarm, killing her. Being the tight-knit community it was, news broke quickly by word of mouth and eyewitness that Kelly was dead and that she had been murdered. This was already being investigated as a homicide, but Kelly hadn't officially been identified as the victim. However, people saw, so they knew. The fear in these cases is palpable because, firstly, there's fear of never getting justice and never getting an answer to what's happened to your loved one. And then there's transgender sex workers who have to talk and be interviewed by the people who brutalize and arrest them at a disproportionate rate to any other person. Then there's the fear of being murdered while doing sex work every day to survive. Then there's the fear every day of them having their rights stripped away from them by the American government, while the world just watches. It's gut-wrenching to think of. In this case, we have brave women like Kyra Butts to thank for stepping up and testifying on behalf of Kelly to get her murderer caught. Sterling Heights pastor Albert Weathers is known to the trans girls who work around the Palmer Park area as a guy who drives around for a while before choosing his date. And accounts from multiple women who worked in the Palmer Park area confirmed that Albert and Kelly knew each other and had somewhat of a regular relationship with each other. And those who had transactional encounters with him all testified that he liked to play games and try to switch up the fee after they had already had sex and try to pay them less or not pay them at all. He would try to stiff sex workers a lot. Maybe not the best choice of words. No, definitely not a good choice of words. But this is sex work, Albert. You